So they put you and me under the microscope. How you raise your children, how you park your car, how you do business. Whatever it is, you're under the microscope. Now, they want to control everything that you do. People today are not aware of their rights. Rights can sometimes be a bit, you kind of look at it and you look at the whole situation. You go, what are your rights? What does that mean? But they're not aware of their rights. Now, they accept the rules. We do accept the rules, no matter what we say, because I've heard it this morning. You've had to accept the rules. You are subject to the suppression of whatever it is that's being subjected against you. Now, you are free. You are free people, whichever way you look at it. You're not detained under the Mental Health Act. You're not in jail. You're free people. But those freedoms are something that we should be constantly striving towards. What rights are we talking about? Now, I would refer to Article 8 of the Human Rights Act, and that is the right to privacy and family life, which is something that you have the right to. There's also the Convention on the Rights of the Child. Now, do you believe that social services have been and are eroding these rights? Of course you do. I get it. Now, what can people do to stop those rights being eroded? And what can they do to stop the particular people who are eroding those rights from getting into their lives in the first place? Now, I've got 3 examples here today, which is why I wanted to come along and speak. The problem is that individuals, and it alludes to what's already been said here, we're talking about coming together as a group. Individuals have a very difficult time when they're trying to fight against an establishment, an authority, whatever it is. It's impossible to defend yourself. Let's say you've got 20 professionals who are all, vying against you. And they're writing reports which contain lies. They are lies. The parents have a limited amount of time to function, to look after the kids, if their kids are still with them, to work, to look after the house, and then they are expected to respond to these huge reports that are written against them that are, they're so long, it's ridiculous. Am I right? Yeah. They're huge. Now, the 3 cases. The first case I'm going to set the scene. It's a mum. I'm going to call her Mother X, and she was sectioned under the Mental Health Act. She was also pregnant, and she was due to give birth in 2 weeks. So social services got involved. They announced their intentions that they're going to place the unborn child up for adoption. It's probably a regular story you're hearing here, and I get that, I just wanted to demonstrate what can be done. Now, the reason given for that decision to put the child up for adoption was the mother was aggressive. Okay. Now, Mother X sent the Child Protection Conference report to us at Citizens Commission on Human Rights. We looked through it and found out what was going on. Having read the information, Mother X was aggressive only to the mental health professionals. Yeah. What a surprise. Yeah. Okay, that's real to you. Right. Okay. Yeah. She was sectioned under the Mental Health Act. Now, Mother X tried to protect her unborn child by refusing medication. That's psychiatric medication, because she was sectioned, knowing it was likely to adversely affect her baby. That was one of the reasons that she was being aggressive. She didn't want to harm her baby. She didn't want to harm her baby. It's that simple. It's not because she's aggressive, because she, some other convoluted idea that the psychiatrist or the mental health professional wants to come up with. She didn't want to harm her baby. The other reason she was aggressive, and get this, she sustained a head injury earlier in her life, resulting in a blood clot in the brain that had affected her behavior every summer for the last 7 years. Undiagnosed physical condition. Now, that was misleading information. The mental health professionals were using misleading information. CCHR, by the way, does advise anyone to go and get a full physical examination from a medical doctor, not a psychiatrist, a medical doctor, to find any undiagnosed physical conditions that are manifesting as these mental illnesses. CCHR wrote a letter to the solicitor of this Mother X, which was passed to the judge. The judge stopped proceedings, and he ordered a thorough physical examination of Mother X, including a brain scan, and assigned custody to the grandmother. Now that was quite a change. The grandmother got custody. The child didn't go into care. You can make a difference. Otherwise, some of you here, you probably haven't seen your kids for some time. You don't even know where they are. But if you can get the custody within the family, that's a good thing. Would you agree? Okay. Now, one of the other cases involves Mother Y. This was an intervention from social services following an accidental fire at the family home. Mother Y and her 14-year-old daughter were living in council accommodation and were arrested and accused of arson. A duty social worker, who we'll call A, went to the police station and started asking the family members questions about the Mother Y. He started telling them that Mother Y needed to address her mental health issues, or social services would take the child away. Mother and daughter were released after 8 hours as there was no evidence of the fire having been started deliberately. Okay. The interview, however, at that police station triggered child protection proceedings. No charges were brought against the family. However, social services started insisting that Mother Y address her mental health issues. Based on what? Mother Y refused. She refused constant calls and visits from social services. At this point, social services went to see the daughter in private at school without a witness and without parental consent, of course. They tried to get the daughter to talk about the mother's mental health problems. After this, Mother Y got in touch with us. And she sent all the case notes and the child protection proceedings documents. Now, after one of my colleagues scrutinized all of the pages, he found that the initial lie that triggered the whole social services intervention was duty social worker A, the one that I referred to. It was lies. Basically, again, a falsity. Mother Y was experiencing, he said Mother Y was experiencing mental health issues. No, she wasn't. He was making that up. That's a lie. Mother Y was asked about it. She responded that she had never met any social worker during her arrest. So CCHR officially wrote to the local social services to ask questions and why the social worker lied. Long story short, after several letters and moving up the echelons of the social services to ask questions to higher and higher authority, they wrote to the mother saying, "I am writing to inform you that your daughter is no longer subject to a child protection plan and children's services will be closing the file." You question them. I'm not saying we are an organization that just deals with truth, but you write and you keep asking the questions about, what is it? What's the lie here? Because otherwise it wouldn't persist. Last one. Mother Z, XYZ, Mother Z had 2 children. She was experiencing difficulties with her partner and was separated from him. She understandably moved house as the partner had become aggressive. She went to a GP to obtain a sick note, and basically she was unable to cope, so she needed some help. The GP handed her the sick note. He also prescribed her antidepressants. After 4 years of antidepressants, Mother Z broke down and social services got involved. They started working with her, and she was told that if she wanted to keep her children, she would have to undertake a mental health assessment, probably something many of you have heard about here. Okay. Given the threat of losing her children, she agreed to the assessment, understandably. If you've got no other data, you're going to say, yeah, all right then. If it means I'm going to keep my kids, yeah, I'll have that assessment. Go ahead. No, wrong. Social services took the mental health assessment and used it to apply for an interim care order. And that was the reason, that was then, therefore, the way of taking the children away. Soon after that, the children were removed, and Mother Z was advised to undertake 12 months of CBT. if she wanted to get her children back. She contacted us and explained the situation. She was told about the consequences of taking psychiatric medication like antidepressants, and how mental health professionals could basically complicate things if they got involved. She stopped the antidepressants under medical guidance, and she asked us to look at the mental health assessment that had taken place. It was found, and here's an interesting one, it was found that the psychologist involved who did the assessment had earned approximately £250,000, that's £250,000 in 3 years from writing so-called expert witness reports. I'm not really at liberty to do so, but I'll ask my colleagues if I can. It was her main source of income. Now, we investigated further, and it was found that it wasn't her only area of practice. She was also organising sex retreats for polyamorous groups in the United States and the UK. So anyway, we looked into her qualifications, and after talking to certain authorities, I can't necessarily say who, it was concluded that psychologists may have committed fraud. May have. It's still, it's like a case in progress. So we reported her to the police. In the meantime, Mother Z was functioning well, without psychiatric medication, and started bit by bit to recover her life and to get her kids back. After 6 weeks of CBT and 3 months without the psychiatric medication, the therapist stated, and get this, the therapist stated there was absolutely nothing wrong with her and discharged her. Mother Z informed social services of this and decided to get the kids back. And this is where it gets dirty. So she's got an okay, she's got discharge. They're saying, yeah, you're okay, carry on, discharge, everything's fine. Social services retaliated, applying to court for a permanent care order for one of her children. She had 2. They used a psychiatric label known as borderline personality disorder. Okay, so you heard about that one. So have I. They used that as the excuse for making the application. Now, please understand this. After a year of involvement with Mother Z, social services had never mentioned that she had any sign of this so-called disorder. Never. It was only at the point where they applied to the application to the court. So we scrutinized all of the mental health documents and couldn't find anywhere where borderline personality disorder was mentioned. So we, late one night, my colleague, he wrote a report into the night, and he faxed it to the judge. He knew who the judge was in the case, and he faxed it to the court and highlighted the fact that social services were fabricating a mental illness to prevent the children from returning to the mother's care. Yeah. So we were there next day. So that was late at night. We met up in the morning. We're off in the car, off to, I won't say where, off to the court. So the judge confronted, in that courtroom, the judge confronted social services with this, and they couldn't explain where the label came from. They couldn't do it, because he didn't have anything. It was a lie. It was made up. The judge denied the application for a care order until further investigations had been carried out by the child's guardian. Once the mental health psychobabble was thrown out, Mother Z was able to prove she has everything in place to have her daughter back. She will soon be reunited with her daughter. Again, it's a case in progress, but it takes time. But you've got to challenge these people. It's all about challenging them. Otherwise, they just think, you're a parent, an emotional parent who, obviously you're going to be emotional because it's your kids. But damn it, you should have the right to challenge them. The moral of this story, that's my last case. The moral of the story is don't allow these pseudo-doctors into your cases. This is the key. Of course, you've got to deal with social services. I don't see any way around that. And I'm not an expert in that field, but I can't see a way around that. But don't deal with social services, not with the mental health, don't deal with the mental health professionals. You're not going to win a game when they invent the rules. And they do. Just as a last point, we at CCHR, we don't deal with child proceedings or social services. But if they are trying to force a mental health assessment on you, contact us. Or equally, if you've been abused by a mental health professional, call us and report it. We want to know. At the end of the day, until you've actually found all the abuses and you report them, they're still getting away with it. But somebody's got to stand up and say, no, that's enough. Thank you for listening to me. Lunchtime.